There we go. Hello, everybody. Chris Dowling here. Time to do my leader interview presentation. This will be my probably third run through this. Yeah, it's great when you get to the 4-minute mark and then realize that you screwed up somewhere and start all over again. But anyways, hey everybody, shout out to Team 6 or Group 6 if you guys are watching this. So yeah, anyways, to my presentation. So who I chose to interview, his name is Paul Standard. He's the CEO of my company, which is Smart Draw Software. As the name implies, it is a software company. Reason for my choice was, and just as a caveat, I own a cat, and he probably might make an appearance during this a couple of times, so sorry for that. Yeah, there we go. Anyways, so I chose my leader, Paul Standard, CEO of my software company I work for, Smart Draw Software. Reasons for my choice were actually quite a few. It's interesting to be in a position that I'm at in my company, given that it's a smaller company. There's about 30 people that work there. So it's definitely interesting being closer to the executive, or say the management team, the opportunities that I've had being on the marketing team. I've been much closer to them, and it's easier to see their style of leadership and management and whatnot. I have to admit, after doing the interview, one thing that really struck me as kind of good, I guess you could say, is somewhat refreshing, was a lot of what he said during the interview was somewhat of a pretty close reflection to what the book says people should be doing if they're going to be an effective leader or an effective team leader or group leader. So that was definitely a good thing. I mean, it's, helps reinforce that you're working for somebody who's worthwhile to work for. But more into the reasons. So he started the company back in '94. He wrote the first iteration of the software. He doesn't know how to code, and he had to do it all himself. So he started the company from the ground floor up, has been leading it for the last 20 years through economic downturns, ups and downs, hiring, firing, and all that. So it's interesting to get some insight on what he thinks throughout all of his years of experience to make a good leader. So without further ado, what I've learned. First and foremost would be the type of power that he wields. The main thing that I've seen from it is obviously he's a CEO, so he does have that form of reward power where he does have control over pay, over promotions, over demotions, over terminations and whatnot. So there's definitely that reward aspect to it, given that people who do show up and work hard and contribute and have good ideas and do their job and whatnot, they do well and they get rewarded for it. So that definitely makes a difference. During my time there, I've seen people who've excelled at their positions. I've seen them get promoted often enough to definitely make it an incentive, something worthwhile to make sure that you're doing your job and doing it well. Beyond that, though, he is very good at using, or not using, but I'd say more or less he does wield referential as well as expert power. The expert power comes from the fact that he's been coding software for some time. He knows exactly what he's doing. He coded, again, the first iteration of the software, so he's been doing it and he still does it. So there's that comes from the fact that he knows what he's doing. Beyond that, he was one of the first companies to actually directly market to customers online back in the early 90s, back when, AOL used to send you the little CDs you'd get in the mail for online access and whatnot. So he's been online marketing since then, direct to customers. When Google became a thing, marketing on Google, which is what I do now in my current position, he did that before it was really even a big thing. So it's somewhat of a pioneer in that regard. So there's a lot of power that comes from that, because he's got a lot of knowledge, a lot of this is a wealth. It's a trove, I guess you could say, especially for me, because again, he's pioneered online marketing and internet direct to customer marketing. And considering I work in search engine marketing now, dealing with Google and Bing and how we advertise online, there's a lot that I can gain from that. From the referential side, it's from what we've seen, because we've been led by this person for so long, and our company does not have a very high turnover rate. I mean, the average tenure is between 5 and 10 years for employees. So there's something there that's going on, obviously, that's being done right. Otherwise, people would leave. And, the company's been in business for 20 years. We've faced a lot of competition, again, a lot of upturns and downturns, and he's managed to keep morale high throughout all of it. He minimizes as much downsizing as he can when times aren't as good. So it leads people to believe that he's actually there for his followers, his employees, his subordinates. So that in itself helps to give birth to some sort of referential power. But beyond that, more to his leadership style, he does I've seen this, and he mentioned it during the interview as well, is he likes to use more of a visionary style. He's very, I would say, kind of like a hybrid of laissez-faire and democratic leadership style. He does not like to be authoritarian. He does not like to be coercive or use some other negative forms of power to get what he wants. So that is definitely definitely a helpful thing. Now with the visionary too, is he kind of nails some key tidbits that made it stand out, because everybody wants to have a grand vision and sound grandiose, and we're going to do all these great things and this and that. But one thing that differentiated him from others was the fact that he mentioned that a vision is almost worthless if it's not tangible, if it's not attainable, if it's not measurable. And I've learned that in my courses so far as well. So rather than just presenting some great vision of how we're going to double sales and everything's going to be great and all that, he more or less likes to paint a picture of the vision, but obviously present steps or goals or subvisions that are necessary to actually achieve the overall vision, so we can see kind of how our jobs interrelate, but also how what we do, the work that we do in our tasks, how they contribute to the whole and the betterment of the company. But that also kind of contributes more to the laissez-faire style as well, because he doesn't come and dictate, this is what needs to be done, this is how you need to do it. He's much more, he likes to paint the broad stroke, like this is the idea, this is what I want, this is the end result, and then you're more or less left to your own devices on how to actually accomplish that. But you do want to do it, the right way. You want to be appropriate about it. Let's see, beyond that, he is very, very, as I mentioned, democratic. He does love taking input from all of us. It's great to see it in meetings too, because when he has an idea or a vision, if there's something that we, an idea we have that might add to it or make it better or anything like that, he's very open to taking those ideas and listening to them. It's not condescending at all, and they do get implemented if they're worthwhile. So it's definitely good to know that he's listening to what you have to say and it is being implemented. So that makes a huge difference as well. That also is one of the things that he mentioned, is how he differentiates managers from true leaders. Is that kind of like actually how the book mentioned, like I mentioned earlier, was that he sees managers as more people are there to maintain the status quo. They get the orders from the leader, and then they are the ones in charge of actually carrying out the orders verbatim, more or less. So they're kind of lieutenants in a way, is how he saw them. And that's also more or less like how he tries to gain support too, is to kind of be inspirational, to give a visionary reason for why support is a good thing, rather than coerce people. Persuasion and inspiration are more his ideas of getting people to follow and go along with the change, and to go along with the vision that he's laying out for the company and whatnot. So that has made a big difference. But he is also not afraid to be authoritarian when the time calls for it. Because as you know, if there's a time limit on the decision, or if there's a lot of input from it, sometimes an authoritarian style can be beneficial. At that point, you need to kind of put your foot down and say, this is how we're going to do it. So there is that aspect to it too. He's not afraid to put his foot down and he says, this is how we're going to do it. This is the way we're going to do it. So it's not a pushover in that sense, based off of anything else I've said so far. So that definitely made a big difference. And he looks for very similar styles in his followers, people who are open, people who are democratic, willing to accept feedback, willing to accept criticism, and be better at their roles, be better at their positions, and to keep progressing and whatnot. And as I mentioned, he prefers not to lay out each step by step. So he does prefer intelligent followers, people who can have some autonomy and make decisions for themselves. And sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so anyways, and the cat fur. Anyways, where was I? So, excuse me. Okay, anyways, but that's why he's more or less into more intelligent followers, is because they have to kind of make decisions on their own and be able to see the grand plan that he's laying out and understand how they're involved with it and whatnot. And they have to understand what the interdependence and what's required, and how their role impacts others, and the effects of what they do and the impact that has on others as well. Interesting story they actually told about that too, and I'd asked one of his prior employees, and this goes along the line of how he doesn't like have to spell everything out for everybody, but a prior employee that he had, when we were ordering CDs for our software back in the day, when people still ordered media and CDs for software, still kind of do, but anyways, he was having somebody look for a company to buy the CDs from, and one company had offered 1,000 CDs for $1,000, and he was thinking, we don't really need that many CDs. Let's just get 500. And so the employee came back saying, great, I got you 500 CDs for $1,200. So it's kind of more or less, he wants people to be able to understand how to do their job properly and to be able to make intelligent decisions, I guess you could say, especially given the autonomy that some of us have in our roles and the impact that this autonomy can have on others. So it definitely does look for that from his leaders as well, or from his followers as well. But I do believe I'm brushing up against the time limit, so I hope I hit the main points of what actually makes him a great leader, why people stay with him, why people follow him, and whatnot. And I suppose one closing tidbit, something that I had actually asked him off the cuff during the interview, is he's from the UK, so he received a master's degree at Oxford from the United Kingdom, came here, and then I went to UCLA to receive his doctoral degree in, I believe it was chemistry, actually. So rather diverse, actually, in terms of his educational background. But anyways, I'd asked him why he doesn't use his title. Generally, a lot of people who are well-educated love their titles. They love to refer to themselves as doctors, or you'll see people with, MBA at the end of their name and their signature, email signatures, and their titles and whatnot. Nothing against those that do, especially in academic, an academic setting, or if you're in if you're in a medical setting, that's obviously a given. But in a software setting, one of the reasons he mentioned that he doesn't actually use it, he does not like to come across as pretentious, because in his mind, he didn't really see a point in using the title, because what point was there? I mean, you're not really trying to convey credibility to anybody. You're not a doctor. You're not treating patients. You're not teaching a college course. So, there's not really anything you have to prove by using it. So I just thought that was a really interesting tidbit. Anyways, hopefully that was entertaining, mildly so. And yeah, if you need anything else, just feel free to leave a comment. All right, thanks. Take it easy.